Huge welcome in the second part of the tutorial of the JavaScript 2023 crash course. So if you haven't watched the first part, just go back in the playlist and select it. And in this tutorial, in this part, I will go through the console methods. Let's start with the top 10 most fundamental console methods. And the first one is the console.log. So like I described in the first part, console.log is just a method to print a message on a web console. So here is the web console. I just made a screen with only that, without the website. So I can make there a message, for example, hello from the course, and I have this now in the console, and I can print any string, any number, any variable. So it's a great tool for the debugging in the different kind of function, for loops. So if the JavaScript developer has some issue to do, application for example breaks, he can just put different type of console in the code in different lines and just print the variables or some messages and see in which part of the code the function or if statement or loop is not working correctly and quickly fix it. So it's the number one debugging tool for the JavaScript developer. The second one, console method, is console.info, and is typed like that, console.info instead of log. And I can also type here a string, for example, this is the information, and I have this icon in the browser, so it's very similar. It's used to display a message to the browser console, and as it is pretty similar to console.log, developers use it for the permanent messages to output to the console in their code. So it's also a great debugging tool. The next one is the console.warn, and is typed like console.warn. And I can also pass there a string. This is a warning. And I have also a different icon here. And console.warn is used to print warning messages on browser console. And it takes an argument of a message to be displayed like that. So it can be also a great debugging tool. And to make it even more complicated, I can pass there not only a string but an object. And for example, this object will be declared like that, name Casper, alert, be careful with JavaScript. Okay, so there is displayed an alert like an object. The next one console method is console.error. So I will go with console.error, and I can type here also string. This is a huge error, and is also displayed here as a different type, so I can filter that in the console also. I have there, for example, only errors, only warnings, only logs, infos, etc. Now I have all types enabled, but for example, if I'm debugging, I can use different types to easily filter and check in the more accurate way where my code breaks, when it's broken, and quickly fix that. I also can pass to the error an object. Let me paste this object, and it's pretty the same. The next method is the assert, and it's constructed like that, console.assert. And what it is basically, so using console.assert method is just to write a message to the console based on the condition. For example, it prints a message to console only if the first argument expression evaluates to false. So let's finish it, and for example I will use document dot get element by ID, and here type ID, for example let type name, and if there is no div with the ID name, I can check there is no, so it's false. There will be displayed the string no element found. Assertion failed, no element found. The sixth console method is the console.count, and to make it more visible I will nest it in the for loop. So I will make like that and increment it. Okay, open the loop, and here I can type console.count, and basically this method is used to write a message on the console as the number of times it's called. So I have there a custom icon, and I can see that it was called 6 times, as the for loop started with 0, lower than 6 times it was called. And I can use also the console count reset. After the count, console count reset, and it basically reset the counter, but maybe it should be with the uppercase. Yeah, and I can pass the for loop here, and counter is reset. Without that it's not reset, so it's counting further. Another methods are console group and group end, so I can just make a grouping of the console logs. For example, maybe I will delete all of these logs, clear the console, and go for that. So I will make a console log. This is outside of the group. Then console.group first group, then console.log in the first group, then I will make the second group, okay, I'll maybe make here some enters, and then add in the second group, okay, and then I will make a group end console group end, and I have now ordered the console in my browser. So maybe clear that once again, save, and here I can see the first group, console log in the first group, then in the first group is also the second group, it's nested, and when I type something outside the group end, and maybe this time I will use some emojis. It's a great idea for adding emojis in the console logs, especially when debugging, because it's more visible. And here I can once again, and it's still in the first group because I didn't end the first group. And now, for example, we copy the 2 files or 3. I'm outside the first group, so this is the outer. So basically it's how the console group work, and many developers doesn't know this method, but it can be very beneficial and helpful in the debugging. One of my favorite console methods is the console.table, so I will delete the previous consoles and type console.table, and here I can include some arrays, objects, whatever, which will be super visible, and I will make an object, and for example id 0, name Casper, and what can I also add is the location Poland. And I have the nice table in the console, so it's a really helpful method in debugging, in printing some arrays, objects when you want to know what breaks the code. For example, you have an array in the function and some value is not added, you can simply go through the entire array object and have it in the most visible and clean way displayed in the browser, mainly the console of the browser. The last concept which I will show you with the console methods will be the console.clear, and it's typed like that, and it's just clearing the console in the browser, so no matter how many consoles will be attached above, everything will be cleared, and it's very helpful in attaching in the first line of the code or before the other consoles, so we can see only the console methods below this console.clear, not some attached after pre-rendering or whatever, but only the most wanted and valuable logs. So that's all. Thank you so much for watching this part of the tutorial. Hope these console methods will be very beneficial and helpful in the further development process. I use not them all, but practically many of them, so it can be used in the different areas and different kind of the development and applications. So just use that, and not only remember about the console log, but also attach some other methods to be seemed like the very experienced developer which knows what to do and how to debug the code.